In his poem, Song of the Open Road, Walt Whitman wrote, "It is provided in the essence of things that from any fruition of success, no matter what, shall come forth something to make a greater struggle necessary." As I have traveled through life, my definition of success has changed, but the truth of Whitman's "no matter what" remains. Life is tough. Get a helmet. August 13, 2006. I stood before you and delivered this message, the bold adventure of life. I talked about sailing and climbing rocks. My favorite saying in life, I said, is this: we can be comfortable or we can have an adventure. Well, I have so much adventure in my life these days. The underlying message there is, I have not a lot of comfort in my life these days. Getting up is an adventure. 32 hours of manual labor every week, more even, 43 hours this week. Hard work, construction work. I feel great, and it hurts. If someone says to me now, these days, follow your dream, I go back to bed. My bold adventures are to go on Caribbean cruises. When we went cruising in Alaska, I carried John Muir's book, Travels in Alaska. I discovered that Muir and I have something in common. We both love storms. Here is an observation he made in 1879 in Alaska. Next morning, I set out to climb Glenora Peak, 7,000 feet. With crackers in my pocket and a light rubber coat, I was ready for anything. The sky was threatening, but I determined to go ahead. Storms of any kind are well worthwhile. Another time he wrote, I set off early the morning of August 30, before anyone else in camp had stirred, not waiting for breakfast, but eating only a slice of bread. I had intended getting a cup of coffee, but a wild storm was calling, and I could not wait. Now, that's the difference between John Muir and I. I could wait for the coffee. I guess I'm just a more patient man. His biographer said that John Muir didn't climb to conquer nature, but to witness and to savor it, testing not his braggadocio, but his faith. I think that's what I find in nature: faith, hope, joy. Motivational speaker Vivian Green said, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about dancing in the rain. I woke up this Thursday morning past at 1:45 to the sound of 2 knocks. Did I hear that? Was I dreaming? Is someone at my door? I got out of bed and I went out. This has been a long time pattern. I wake up in the night and go outside. Living with Kathy in Mandarin for 10 years, with Joni in Avondale, on Gail's property in Hastings. Wherever my domain, I quietly survey my boundaries and I go deep, listening, watching. What Indians called wind walking, practicing the art of being fearless. So I sat on my porch Tuesday morning and thought about Walt Whitman's claim that all of my successes in life, no matter what, have brought forth something to make a greater struggle necessary. Seminary, for me, was a mind-blowing, bold experience. It opened my eyes, my mind, my awareness of the world. I became an activist. I got involved with life. I embraced the mission to seek out truth anywhere and everywhere. My life became an adventure, and it created greater struggles. I was a minister without a church, a faith, or a job. And so I roamed back to school at FSU for social work, psychiatric ward for elderly in Tallahassee, group home for delinquent adolescents in Savannah, another one in DeLand, night auditor of an island resort in South Carolina. That was a party job. Fripp Island. It even sounds like a party to me. For a time, I returned to Louisville, where I had attended seminary, and I lived an ascetic life on a friend's couch, meditating, baking bread, occasionally substitute teaching in special education, slowing down. I limped back home eventually to Jacksonville, moved in with my mom, found a job with Greenpeace. It was there I found my sailboat. Success and, of course, greater struggle. Any owner knows. Like standing in a cold shower, ripping up $20 bills. Sailing, the fine art of getting wet and becoming ill while slowly going nowhere at great expense. I fell into carpentry work. That was an exciting adventure. No matter, something will make a greater struggle necessary. 6 months later, my boss ended his own business. Good news, I inherited his work. Tough news, I had no tools, no crew, and very little experience. My business sprung up literally overnight. It was a learning curve for decades. It was fantastic, perfect for my wild spirit. And now I get to build homes for exotic animals. But I was alone in early 1988. Out of seminary for 10 years, I sought out spiritual challenge. I found the UU Church of Jacksonville. I went to get involved with life and to meet my future wife. It all came in one beautiful package. Day one, a bold adventure. At coffee hour downstairs, the lovely redhead I had secretly watched throughout the service engaged me in a conversation, welcomed me, invited me to a Wednesday class on the 7 principles of the UUA. My secret is out why I really love the 7 principles. We sat together that first class, and of course, the program that night included a Choose a Partner segment to share your thoughts. Within a couple of weeks, it seems, Joni and I were living together. 5 years of bliss. And I became an instant stepdad. Or, as the kids preferred to call me, Daddy Cool. I don't even need to mention that out of blissful marriages, no matter what, shall come forth something to make a greater struggle necessary. I also began another bold adventure at that time. Joining the Church of Jacksonville brought Reverend John DeWolf Hurt into my life, the man directly responsible for me becoming a UU minister. A hope restored, a faith that found a home. The night I joined that class with Joni, I volunteered to present the UU principle for the following week. I just jumped right in. It was the third of the meetings. We affirm and promote the acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. This week, I found that presentation that I gave. Basically, my first UU address. I think it explains a little bit why I relate to this Walt Whitman quote. To say, as he did, no matter what, success contains within itself the seeds of a greater struggle. That is not a bad thing. That is the definition of growth. Here is what I wrote on February 2, 1988. On acceptance of one another. I think that genuine acceptance in a spiritual life is a radical demand. Jesus' call to love your neighbor as yourself is both an affirmation of human worth and an admonition to promote that worth by, quote, healing the sick, feeding the hungry, and visiting the prisoners. Accept the unacceptable. The only way we can do that is by realizing that there is no other. Not anyone nor any event is outside of myself, but belongs to my experience of reality. Life belongs to life. Whatever hurts others hurts me. Whatever helps me helps others. In Eastern Zen, the message is even stronger. There is no me. No isolated ego separate from all that is. We shape our individual selves against the backdrop of humanity. On encouragement to spiritual growth, I wrote, spiritual and growth are inseparable. Spirituality is growth. It is striving and reaching for that ultimate object or subject of our spiritual search. We have many names for it. God, love, truth, Tao, enlightenment, salvation, nirvana. One of my favorite expressions for that unity of life we seek is Paul Tillich's term, the ground of being. It is the soil in which we are planted, out of which we grow. It is our human and animal nature to struggle and to grow. So there is a flip side to this axiom from Whitman. If all success brings with it struggle, so too in struggle are the seeds to our success. The joy is in the journey, we say, to embrace the inevitable tide of life's events with passion and with purpose. As Gary the blind magician in Jane Goodall's story said, things may happen in your life, but you must never give up. There's always a way forward. When I wake in the night and walk the perimeter of my life and reflect on my struggles and successes, I think of the poem by Wendell Berry, The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Amen.